Welcome to Feature Fridays. My name is Guy Bartram, and today we've got quite a crowd on today. I think this is the most we've ever had on, actually, to Feature Friday. So let's start with our guest star, Eugene from Rosetelecom. Eugene, can you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, no problem. My name is Eugene. I'm from Rosetelecom Data Center. It's a big company inside Russia, which provide a lot of service. And VMware VCPP products, it's part of our ecosystems.
Excellent, excellent. Well, it's great to have you on. Thank you very much for your time today. And we're also joined by, as usual, Jörg. Jörg, quick intro.
Yeah, I'm Jörg here. I'm a technical product manager at VMware.
Thanks, Jörg. And Dimitri, welcome to Feature Fridays.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. My name is Dmitry. I'm a part of solution architect team covering our cloud providers in Russia and CIS. So I'm doing my best supporting Eugene and Rosetelecom on his cloud journey.
Brilliant, brilliant. Nice to have you on. And Milko, welcome back. Thanks for joining.
Sure. My name is Milko, and I'm a staff engineer working on Cloud Director.
Okay, and today is all about VMware Cloud Director, and hence the crew on today, and about a rather unique solution that Rosetelecom has implemented. And Dimitri and Eugene have been talking about this, and it's really exciting. It's a chatbot, a way of supporting VCD customers directly within VCD. Is that right, Eugene?
Yeah.
Okay. So give me a little bit of background as to first of all, why was this solution? Why did you look into this in the first place? What made you think, we need a chatbot for VCD?
It was VCD. It's not first product for chatbot in our ecosystem, and we use this technology around all our ecosystem. For example, in Cloud Portal and with another product. And after some time, after Feature Friday, I understand that we can very easily implement these things inside VCD, and we do this.
Oh, fantastic. Glad to hear the Feature Fridays helped.
Yeah, it's really helped, yes.
Excellent, that's good to know. So so this is something that you have across your entire portfolio of products. This is your standard kind of support,
Yep.
I guess, first line support for customer, isn't it? You know, reach out into the chatbot. Okay, can you tell us how, obviously you watched Feature Friday that gave you some idea on how to use the VCD extensibility, but how was the kind of implementation for you? Was it a long time? Was it very tricky to do? Or was there something specifically that you'd like to say about the actual implementation and coding?
We always use VCD like front end for our service and work with VCD like with API gateway. But if we want to create something big service, for example, it can be bare metal as service. And VCD API don't have enough operations and method for implementing this. And we use vRealize Orchestrator for extend API. Okay. And we create like small services and publish it to world, to provider side, first of all, not to customer.
Okay, so you extend the VCD capability using vRealize Orchestrator to orchestrate VCD and other solutions. Okay, that's cool. So let's start from the top then, Eugene. You said you had a couple of slides you wanted to talk through. Do you want to share the slides, and we'll start with what this is all about?
Yep, I can share my screen. 1 second. Some word about Rosetelecom Data Center. We part of Rosetelecom, and we have a lot of big ecosystem around Russia with really huge number of services, data centers. I was in operational part, and we engaged in operational and development our cloud platform. We scaled it national cloud platform. And another part of our operational team worked with another product of our ecosystem. And it was a reason why we try implement chatbot. Some point about VCD, and we realized that it's not too complicated and try implementing something, but it was I and our development team. Of course, we face it with difficulties, but we asked advice in Slack, in developer Slack, and in provider workspace, and guys from VMware help us with advice, and it's very useful. And technologically, Chatbot it's backed on Auto FAQ technology, and widgets work only in front end because it's work directly in client browser, for example. And I have some demonstration.
So AutoFAQ.ai is the which is a Russian company, right? Is
Yep.
the company supplying the back end kind of response. The front end is then something that they deliver to you, and then you just like orchestrate into your UI. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
And engine of widget is totally Auto FAQ technology, and we only passed to VCD UI.
Okay.
And we place it widget in right part of the page, and triggerless navigation and our chatbot entity always in one place. It's very useful. I can translate Russia. Sorry, it's totally Russia. Russian language.
No,
it's high. How I can create virtual machine. It's conversation in any form. And if system find answer, he can send link to our knowledge database or send video, which easy. It's TIFF file which played in browser. It's very good from technology perspective. And if answer not suitable, and you can start talking, it's a support engineer user space, and you can talk with them with live engineer,
so
and
you can pass this off to your own engineers then.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep, and he sent you link or some words, and after that some advice, sorry. And after that you can have live communication. And if you one interesting moment, it's two-way notification, and if your widget was closed and engineer sent you, next you can see blink on widget. Yep.
Oh, I see the one unread message. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Okay. And after conversation, you can give feedback and about ticket and.
Sorry, what is it saying now?
He says that all good. We can close a ticket.
Okay. So this, can you just pause it here? What is this we're looking at the moment? That Auto FAQ page.
Oh, sorry. It's a customer. I can stop presentation and switch to video if you.
Sure. So I understand you got the chatbot, which is replacing the ask a question icon there. That's consistent across every screen in VCD.
Yep.
Then you have the automated answers. So if something is put in and it does a search and finds something related to this.
On after fact part, it's big knowledge base with the word, and if it match, they send answer without engineer. And on next step, if answer not suitable, customer can say, oh, it's not correct answer. And after that, engineer came help. And that's very useful because a lot of question and closed automatically without people.
Yeah, I mean, you're significantly. Do you know how much this has impacted your support overheads?
Oh, I don't know.
but quite significant, I would imagine, if you've got a lot of customers there. Okay.
Yeah, if we just take a step back, not only from to lower the overhead on the support cases. If you also think about the user experience for your end user, I think that's a very consistent way to interact with you as the service provider, because there's you get directly in the screen where a problem or a question occurs. You can directly get in touch with the provider, and you don't have to pick up the telephone. You don't really have to do some additional, I don't know, screen sharing, or move over to a ticketing system, or to some write an email to a generic support request and never get an answer back. So
Yeah,
I think it's a very good user experience for the end users as well to get in touch with you.
We're looking in
agree.
future, and we want to implement additional service for customer when with live dialogue customer receive information about performance, for example, or something which we can only operate on backend. Because we from after FIQ we can execution, for example, API call to VCD and receive some information and create picture, for example, or graph, and send to customer to bot.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. So it's taking it a next level forward, which is like doing some automated troubleshooting, perhaps.
But it's additional. It can work from phone. It can be chatbot in Telegram. Telegram, it's Russia product too, not Russia, but and this absolutely same technology, same button, but in phone. It's very useful. It's very useful, and you can talk about your VCD with engineer or with bot.
That's very interesting. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you guys. It's quite interesting. Like recently, in the last, I guess, 6 months or so, especially with COVID, it's been much easier to use a chatbot than it has been to phone a company. And you get a fairly instant response from a chatbot, whether it's automated or not, and then escalated to someone. Whereas you can be on the phone for an hour, 2 hours, and still not get through. So this is I think it is definitely the future of support interactions.
Yeah.
So you said this is a Russian company providing this. Do you know if there's any other companies providing similar functionality just for other interested users in other geos?
I don't know, because I'm in operational team. I'm not developer, and I do work on infrastructure robustness. And with all the things with VCD, it's like my hobby.
Okay.
I think there are some other vendors available for as well for these chatbot backends or support systems. Some of them are part of some regular customer relationship management products or suites that you can use. But I think there are also some separate solutions really focusing on these chatbots. I think like Power Chat might be one. And I think there are a whole bunch, maybe even commercial offerings, as well as some open source libraries that you can use as part of the communication between the front end chatbot screen and the back end engineer that is supporting or answering the questions.
Yeah.
Our main idea of this solution was spec chatbot library inside plugin. It's plugin which we only install to VCD and it immediately start working because it's on front end. And it's very useful. We have new installation, we install plugin and work.
That's it. Off you go.
So the plugin itself is talking directly to the Auto FAQ service, right? It's not going through Cloud Director. It's all from the browser.
Only from browser. And for example, for customer, he sends URL where we can get number of tenant, name of tenant, for example, and support on your site see who write, for example, and can communicate.
So it's taking the logged on user in VCD as the conversation starter, right? How does it know who's logged into VCD and who's
because when you log inside VCD, you have specific URL. It's VCD FQDN/tenant/name of your organization. And we work with organization, not with user inside organization, totally with whole organization. Maybe in future we can receive, it's not very hard to receive through JavaScript at name of tenant user. And on this step, we work with tenant whole.
So from the customer's perspective, then this is, they would obviously have access to VCD UI, but they also need web access for Auto FAQ to work.
We publish all usual to internet, all these things.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just thinking in secure, isolated environments, then this would be obviously a secure connection that you'd need to do somehow through the internet.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
I mean, another alternative is when you would create an API extension to VCD itself that sort of acts as an API gateway then to the different backend servers, so that the plugin just talks to VCD as the rest of the VCD portal, and then you have an API extension, and the VCD sort of the API extension itself talks to the external system. That's a bit more effort to develop, but it sort of reduces the network communication between these different parts. But that always depends on the, of course, on the requirements. And another thing that I want to mention, I think in our extensibility SDK, there is a pretty straightforward way for even a UI plugin to figure out about the actual user that's logged in, the tenant organization and the UUIDs and all that tenant information. So you can gather that pretty easily and add that if needed to the logic of your UI plugin.
Oh, cool. Okay. And just take me through the actual plugin itself, the deployment of the plugin. Is this something I'm gonna pretend I know nothing about VCD now? Is this something that you would be putting into the web server, or is this something that you're actually orchestrating via the VCD UI?
So that is something I think we even covered pretty extensively in one of the older Feature Fridays. You can use the provider portal itself to manage the plugins. So if
and permission to plugins, for example, and publish not all customer, published only to part of customer, only to tenant, only to provider side.
Let me share my screen quickly. So you should see connection to Cloud Director, and I'm going to log in to the provider portal as a provider administrator.
The reason why I'm asking you is this is like a third-party plugin, so this is something that's not being kind of necessarily tuned to be exist with VCD. That's why I was curious about it.
Yeah, in the provider portal, there's that customized portal section where you have all the plugins that come with VCD or its extensions that you install, like App Launchpad or Autoscaling. But if you hit that upload button, you can select a plugin file just from your local PC as a provider administrator, and that plugin file is sort of the result of the development process of the plugin. So when you use the SDK at the end, then you get that zip file. It's a single zip file as a plugin file, and that you can upload to the provider portal. And I think we've demonstrated the whole procedure in another Feature Friday. Once you uploaded it, let me see if I have some. Yeah, I think the showcase plugin is from the actual example. So that's sort of the example that comes with the SDK. And then you can publish that to either the service provider portal, if it's some functionality for the service provider, or to tenants, or both. And then when you select the tenants, you can, as usual in VCD, explicitly publish it to the list of tenants that you want to offer that service. So of course, if it's something like that chatbot, it makes sense to publish it to all tenants. But if it is some service that you want to create some revenue or that you monetize, then of course it would be something that you only publish to tenants that really pay for that service and are aligned or assigned to use the service.
And there is already, I mean, this is why I want to just make absolutely clear, there is a Feature Friday where we explained how to use the SDK to create that external zip file ready for publishing. So it's not just any plugin jar file you can just shove in here and expect it to work. It's got to be something that's output by the SDK and in a format that VCD is ready to receive. Yeah.
And we have other Feature Friday covering that. Since then, Milko and Nicola and the engineers from the solutions team have some pretty good improvements, not only to the SDK itself that you can find on GitHub, but we also have a pretty good documentation. So if you go to vmware.github.io/vcd-SDK, which is sort of the GitHub pages that belong to the plugin SDK, you can find some developer guides that really help you to get started, and a whole section of the UI plugins, how to develop them, the different extensions point that you have, and how to use the SDK to get to that zip file that you upload to the portal then. And we have a Feature Friday really working through that.
Yeah, and this is a new website, is it, Milko?
Yes. Yeah.
Is this it's live now and finished?
It is, yeah.
This live, and we are updating it constantly with the when we update the SDK and add more and more data in there.
Excellent. So this should be the one-stop shop for a developer to kind of look and see what's what.
Absolutely, and well, the SDK itself, and of course also the GitHub pages as part of the documentation section there, is open source. So if you miss something, feel free to either open an issue on the GitHub section, and Wilco and the team will be able to read that. Or, well, if it's documentation and you are somehow familiar with writing some Markdown documentation, perhaps just create the documentation or the change yourself and file a pull request for the repository, and then we can have a look at that.
So Eugene, thanks, Jorg. So Eugene, how was this like for you in terms of the plugin? Obviously, from Auto FAQ was set functionality. How difficult was this to use the SDK and add in the other pieces that you needed here?
First of all, when we implement this, our plugin site don't exist with example. Yes, okay. It's main. But live conversation with Jorg, with guys from Slack workspace, and they help us. And of course, we can read documentation on GitHub, because open source, it's very good way. And in this case, it's very useful. But it was not easy, because not so popular term, and don't example exist around the internet, for example, about this. It's not so popular. I don't know why.
Yeah, well, I think there's an interesting thing here is a lot of the chatbots, for example, that we have now, they're all in our sort of SaaS portfolio, and that's where VMware's focused on providing sort of chatbot support. Whereas now in VCD 10.2.2 we have, well, 10.2 I think we have guided tours that came out, and that's kind of the start, I think, of creating a knowledge base of workable solutions for a customer to search for in context to where they're at. You guys have taken this kind of another step, and Jorg, how do you see potentially guided tours? Is this something that could call guided tours? What would be your thoughts about recommendations from a knowledge base library? Because I'm sure, Eugene, you guys have spent a long time documenting all of the simple questions, all of the simple procedures to follow, but then also creating videos. Did you think about doing that in guided tours instead, or was this started before then?
We started before, because we work not on last version of VCD. We work on 10.0 version, but this chatbot work in whole version. We of course we check this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something I think these different options complement each other very nicely. So you have the guided tours, who are really some sort of a click-through path in the actual UI that you can publish to the tenant for individual workflows. And then we have, of course, well, things like that chatbot functionality to get in touch or get some direct interaction with either a support engineer or some AI-driven knowledge base. And then you, of course, can use the branding and the different static links that you can add to the help menu, for example, in the VCD portal, to link to some other documentation or knowledge base that you put together. I think we, in the branding Feature Friday, we have some examples for that as well. So they are all different, complementing solutions that you can put together for a nice user experience.
So I guess if you're looking at doing this now, you'd have to make the decision about You maybe have an existing operational knowledge base that you can directly reference and pull out, or you perhaps started creating some guided tours and you could reference those in context of where the user is at. Or you could start fresh and build yourself on your own operations library. Depends how you kind of want to proceed. Excellent. Okay. So Eugene, is there any other aspects of the auto FAQ that you'd like to look into, or is that pretty much everything?
About Chatbot, it's all my topic. I don't know what's additional, but I have some experience. Rosetelecom have some experience with Orchestrator and API, and I can share if you want. I have some slides and some small demo.
Sure. Yeah, let's have a look. Excellent.
Yep.
Okay.
For example, as I said before, we extend API with Orchestrator, and we made something like small services for bare metal, for example, for public IP on virtual machine interface, for backup as service, for after FAQ, both backend, and in this case, VCD is one endpoint. And in this case, UI and API work together, because if you publish workflow through VCD, you can call or through UI or through VCD. And as additional, our step was using CI/CD technology or methodology for publish that, because we have big environment and we must maintain all these things. It looks like that. It's content library from provider side, small icon, small notice, but it's thin diagram with central logical idea that all interaction happens through VCD, because it's very good from security perspective, and you can publish VCD to internet and all other system key only through VCD, for example. And next, it's small demonstration.
So this is the service tiles that came in to expose VRO workflows, right? This is really nice to see this. I haven't seen anyone using this yet. This is great.
Yes, but unfortunately, UI don't provide ability to create web forms such as vRealize automation does. To be honest, we require more convenient editor for user form, and we all hope that VMware will make this in someday in future.
So build more VRO forms, you say, into the service tiles. Okay. Yeah.
Yep. And on Orchestrator side, we create packages with workflows, and we separate executable code from variables, and we can use with CI/CD this. And as additional, I want to say that after time when Orchestrator starts support more convenient programming language like PowerCLI, for example, or Python, we develop directly in Visual Studio Code, for example, write them, and after that publish. And Orchestrator, it's only runtime. And as additional, after that we create pipelines on our CI/CD engine. We use GitLab and publish package to Orchestrator, publish configuration to Orchestrator, and as finished step, we publish service to VCD. And it's very useful for us, because we can, with one button, publish service around whole our environment. It's more than 10 instances, and it's very useful, and contribute new version, new code, and only work with public API. Nothing special tools, only API of VRO and API with VCD.
Yeah, that's a very powerful integration that we have with vRealize Orchestrator there, even if there are some limitations, especially when it comes to the input forms, as you mentioned. But since you can call the service library items through the APIs as well, it really depends on, again, the scenarios and the use case. And of course, as a workflow developer, you have the choice to make the workflow as easy as possible to consume for the end user. So if you don't rely too heavily on some complex input presentation, then you can go very far with that, and can use the whole ecosystem that we have in Orchestrator to connect via the plugins to a lot of different endpoints. And it's actually very nice round back, because I think it's the very first Feature Friday guide that we ever recorded, where we cover the service library extensions and VRO. So very nice to hear.
Oh, do you guys use the VRealize DevTools, which is basically a VS Code plugin for VRealize Orchestrator?
No, we don't use this because maybe we're not such experienced for this. But we have a lot of VI admins who had big experience with PowerCLI code. And for example, we develop directly in Visual Studio Code, emulate environment and variable from VCD, from VRO perspective. And after that, we only publish, create zip, push to VRO, and it's really very useful, because debugging inside VRO, it's not easy. But debugging inside, for example, Visual Studio Code, it's easy.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's what your operations developers are kind of happy doing is typically PowerShell is usually the choice.
Maybe Python in future, I don't know. It's not a big problem.
So if you are, or if someone is interested in the developer tools for VRO, I mean, that's not at all related to VCD, but just a nice reference here. Let me share my screen again. So that is a Fling that is available on flings.vmware.com, and it's called vRealize Build Tools. Pretty up to date, as you can see, and also being maintained and updated, because it is actually used by a few teams, professional services teams within VMware. And that download contains, the whole system to develop workflows in a more software developer way in Visual Studio Code rather than in the VRO UI itself. So give that a try. There's some instructions there.
You also need the DevTools. So VRealize DevTools is, this is the VS Code plugin I was referring to. Basically, this is the plugin which allows you to automate a lot of the interactions with VRO, and it gives you the connection between you can see here some auto completion and all that stuff. If you are into VRO development, of course, it gives you this nice IDE integration.
Very good. So that's the github.com/VMware vRealize developer tools for the integration with VS Code, and then the build tools that help to automate, which are published as a Fling. And again, that's all related to vRealize Orchestrator, not really to VCD, but of course, if you create some VCD related workflows, that helps as well.
A lot of opportunities, a lot of products which can work together and make very good things.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why it's nice to see, like a company like yourselves investing the time and effort to do this and reaping the rewards. Just out of interest, when you've done the VRO integration, something like backup as a service, what sort of volume do you see being consumed from those workflows? What sort of volume of customers are driving? How many backups would you say you drive through that?
It's a workflow for external Orchestrator system, because, for example, it's not enough information in VCD from vCenter level, and we create workflow which give information to external Orchestrator. It's information about, as I remember, about UID of VM from ESXi level, because this information VCD don't contain this information. And we, as this example, we extend information through VCI API.
Yeah. So you're going and getting the UID of the object that needs to be backed up, and then passing that on to the backup system. Is that right? Okay. Yeah. So that's a fairly simple, low level, kind of not very complicated workflow, really.
Yes, it's 2 or 4 line, for example, connect Disconnect, receive, and
Excellent.
And that's
excellent.
a very, very good way to get started with these extensions, not only the VRO base, but also the, of course, VCD UI plugin extensions. So really think about, there are, I think, different levels of integration and extensibility that you build. The first level, and that's typically the easiest to implement, is really to just step-by-step automate tasks that you otherwise would have to do manually. Like for this backup, well, if the backup system does not get all the information, that would mean perhaps you automatically would create a ticket, but then some human operator would have to fill out the information and create a backup job. And that is something that you very easily can automate. And then based on that, you really can think about more to either improve the user experience, so that make it easier for the end user to interact with your support, like what we've seen with the chatbot integration, and create a more consistent user experience. And then you really can level that up to think about new service offerings that you can use and create through VRO to automate them very efficiently, and then publish them into the Cloud Director portal so that end users can easily consume them and create some revenue and increase your business.
Yep.
So usually now, obviously, as a kind of support ongoing for your, less so for your chatbot, because that's more of an external function, but certainly for your VRO workflows, do you, as a part of your CI/CD pipeline, you're deploying, testing new versions of VCD upfront and API calls that are still relevant? Is that and not being deprecated? Is that like a part of your day-to-day process in that type of operational maintenance?
To be honest, if more CD than CI, because we all tests happen in our logically with customer with Power CLI, because it's complex script with logging to login site, and with pester test, developers develop, test, and with this pipeline we only spread around ecosystems. These things. And for example, when we understand that it's bug, developer fix this, and then we package and spread new version automatically.
Okay.
A good way to get in touch with our engineering team, Wilco and Nicola from the solution engineering team. But we also do have a separate Slack channel. So let me share my screen last time. So there is a Slack community for VMware Code. VMware Code is the platform where we have, document all the SDKs. We have a huge example library for all the different VMware APIs. So not only related to VCD, but also to vCenter, Power CLI, vRealize, Orchestrator, automation, and so on. And that VMware Code community also has a Slack channel, which is just vmwarecode.slack.com, where you register. It's open for anybody to register. And in that Slack community, we do have some VCD-related channels for VCD automation questions in general. We have, for example, one pretty active one for the Terraform developer, and one for the VCD UI plugins, where our engineers.
Yes, it's my conversation with you.
Yeah, we've seen it.
Yeah.
So that's something absolutely to have a look at. And just for reference, give me 1 second. The homepage for the VMware Code community. Let me share my browser window. That's very simple. That's just code.vmware.com. We have, the documentation of all the different APIs and the SDKs, even the one for VCD itself, and then Sample Exchange, which is that sort of community platform where pretty much everyone, of course, can share some examples for the different tools. So that's not only limited to VCD, but we've seen a lot of VRO packages. There are a lot of vCenter automation and Power CLI scripts. And if you look, we also have some for the VCD APIs for Tenant app, for example. We have Terraform examples up there. So whenever you want to automate or extend something within the, let's say, VMware ecosystem, code.vmware.com is a good starting place for that.
That's excellent, Jürgen. I'll make sure I post the invite to the channel. If you could just pop an invite to me, that'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, these are really good resources. And, you know, even if you're, you know, you're looking at just normal VCD kind of operations, there is a VCD Slack channel as well in another community, which I'll put in the description below. And there's many routes to getting in contact with us, as you can see. There's lots of different places, which is great. I mean, this is like you said, Eugene, you know, getting the Feature Fridays was kind of like the start to give you the idea, and then you needed some additional help. And these routes are available to everyone to really help you get the most out of your Cloud Director instance and your environment.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Eugene, for your time today. Thank you for showing us around, and super impressed to see the functionality that's there. I hope that sort of thing is something that we start looking at building into the products, and glad to see that you guys are really blazing the trail of that one. Thanks, Jörg, for showing us around as usual and keeping us up to date with things that we should all know. Dimitri, pleasure to have you on, and thanks, Milko, for joining.
Thanks,
Cheers,
bye.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.